Gosh, it feels like we should have some sort of like theme song or something to get things started. I want to welcome you all. Thank you so much for joining us for the Friends webinar this month. We're very excited to be able to bring you this program, and we've been working hard to make sure that we have really great engaging content for you. This month we're going to be talking with a panel of birders and conservationists and nature lovers to talk about what they're doing in nature right now, and you know, what brought them into it, why they love it so much, and the things that are happening to keep these places that are very special to them present and you know, sustaining into the future. My name is Jen Hodge, and I am the Events and Membership Coordinator at San Diego Audubon Society. And if you have any questions about San Diego Audubon Society, or you want to know about upcoming events, do be in touch with me. Or even if it's something like you want to know what kind of bird that is that you see in your backyard, I can answer those kind of questions too. I'm the one that you'll be talking with if you make those calls. Now this meeting is in the webinar format, which means that the host and the panelists are able to talk and show their video, but everyone else is muted. Now I know that you might have some questions at some point, and there is a function that you can use to get your questions answered. So if you take your cursor and you go down to the bottom bar, you'll see that there are all these things that pop up, and one of them says Q&A. If you click on that, then you're able to post a question. I ask that if you do post a question, please let us know who you want to hear from for your answer. So for example, if you have a question for me, if you can say Jen and then ask your question, and then I'll know when I'm moderating the questions and answers that I can field that question to the appropriate person. We are recording this meeting, and we're going to make the recording available to anyone who missed it, or if you'd like to experience it again. We'll put it up on our website, and we will email it out to everybody who said that they were interested in coming to this meeting. So that should come out in the next couple of days. Now that the housekeeping is out of the way, I want to introduce to you our first panelist. I'd like to introduce you to Andrew Meyer, who is our Director of Conservation at San Diego Audubon Society. And he has a really exciting announcement to make related to our Rewild project. And so I'm going to give him the spotlight, and take it away, Andrew.
Hi, thank you very much, Jen, for the opportunity to steal the spotlight for just a minute at the beginning of this otherwise fantastic panel of speakers that you have here. I'm sure it'll be super interesting and a lot of fun, and I'll stick around as long as I can. But Jen let me sneak in at the front here to give an announcement about an update on our Rewild Mission Bay project. Hopefully you all know it and can recite it to yourself as you fall asleep, as your personal mantra, the way that I do. But just in case, if not, I have a couple of slides here just to kind of set the tone. And this is the first time I've been able to give a San Diego Audubon presentation to the San Diego Audubon. So that's fantastic. It's nice to at least speak with you and chat with you. And I hope we get to see each other in person soon and work on wetland restoration in particular soon. So the Rewild Mission Bay project is a wetland restoration project that the San Diego Audubon Society has been working on since 2014. We got some grants to start working on it then, with my predecessor doing a lot of the hard work to get us to the awesome spot that we are at now. But it's focused on wetland restoration in the northeast corner of Mission Bay. So here's a really neat series of photos of how humans have changed Mission Bay over time. Not too long in recent history, so less than 100 years ago, it looked like it does on the left-hand side of your screen in the 30s. Through the 40s, 50s, and 60s, we started moving things around a whole lot, built a lot of islands, focused Mission Bay on aquatic recreation and a lot less on habitat and water quality services and the tidal flush of the ocean in and out. So you can see on the right-hand side, it looks a lot like the way we think about it now. There are lots of recreational benefits to this, certainly. I've been to this area with my family numerous times. My kids' birthday parties will be here in this weekend. My daughter's turning 13. So we use it all the time for recreational benefit. But as soon as the city focused on recreation to the detriment of a lot of the other components to it, we started thinking about what else we had lost. And in particular, on the bottom here are the California least tern, Nuttall's lotus, and the Ridgway's rail. And they rely on habitats a lot like what's on the left and not so much like what's on the right. They need coastal dune habitats and they need tidal wetland habitats. And those are the habitats that have lost out in Mission Bay over the last 100 years. And even beyond 100 years ago, for time immemorial, thousands and thousands of years, this is what it looked like. This is a map from the 1850s, so still not too long ago, but it gives you an idea of what it looked like for thousands and thousands of years while the Kumeyaay Native American community was living alongside it, interacting with the bay, recreating there just like we do, but also harvesting and having significant cultural interaction with this vibrant ecosystem. So it's totally possible for humans to live alongside a bay that has a thriving wetland. And we're hoping to get us back to the northeast corner, at least, of Mission Bay, having a thriving wetland and being resilient to sea level rise. So this is the location of the Rewild Mission Bay project. This is the northeast corner of Mission Bay. You can see Interstate 5 running along the right-hand side of the map. Just to set the scene, if this is a familiar spot for folks, that's great. There's a lot to do here already. And this is what we are focusing on. The wildest wetland restoration alternative here is the best opportunity in Mission Bay, one of the best opportunities in all of San Diego County to restore wetland, to bring back these habitats and all of the species that rely on these habitats, as well as all of the human values that we get from these habitats. In addition to recreation and solace and quiet and the health benefits from having some space in open space in our parks, we also get a lot of water quality benefit from tidal wetlands. We also get a lot of sea level rise resilience from this being our infrastructure that we have to buffer the coastal, the tides and the storm surges instead of gray infrastructure, roads and pavement and sewer lines and electrical lines and those kinds of things. And we also get a lot of access opportunities for people to interact with and an opportunity to restore some of that access that has been taken away as the Mission Bay has shifted over time. So that's what we were looking at. And the big news that's really, really awesome, which hopefully many of us are smiling about already, is just that last Wednesday, the Water Board, the San Diego Regional Water Quality Control Board, approved the city's proposal to create a new wetland restoration alternative for this area, the Rewild Mission Bay area. And that new alternative will satisfy a lot of the things that we've been hitting about the need for substantial wetland restoration and the opportunity for substantial wetland restoration here. So this, although it looks boring, it's a screenshot of a tweet, which I've never given in a presentation before. This is the most exciting slide that we have at the moment, at least because it's the Water Board saying that a unanimous decision really empowers the city to spend the money that it needs to come up with a competitive and an engaging and restorative for humans and for habitats, restorative opportunity here in the northeast corner of Mission Bay. So I'd be happy to answer lots more questions about it. Here are the folks that also have been putting their weight behind this thing, and this coalition is growing. If you have any questions about who's in the coalition or want to join the coalition, please let me know. We're trying to grow it and make sure that the city has to listen to us so that we can get substantial wetland restoration here for all of the benefits that we talked about. Okay, thank you very much. Thanks, Jen.
Oh, thank you. That is the best news. That's just, I'm so pleased. And yeah, so amazing. Okay, I'm bringing back up the gallery view so that we can see everybody now.
I'll put my email address in the chat panel if anybody wants to follow up with me. I'd be happy to answer emails.
Thank you. Thanks, Andrew. Yeah, so I'm going to take a moment and introduce our panel, and then we'll get started with our panel discussion. So I'm first going to introduce Krisztina Scheeff, and give us a little wave. And then we've got Lesley Handa and Sree Khandhadai. Okay, I got it. And Padma Jagannathan. And we have Jose and Silvia Chavira as well. So we're going to get right into the panel. And I'm going to start out with a question for each of you. I'm going to start with Krisztina. How long have you been a birder?
Oh my, well, hello everybody. I've been a birder slash mostly photographer, but nature photographer, but then I really like birds. So I have to say about full-time about 6 years, but part-time for about 25 now.
Okay, wonderful.
Yeah.
And Lesley, how long have you been a birder?
Let's see. So I have been roughly working with birds, studying birds, birding, doing research, rehabilitation, and aviculture for about over 20 years.
Okay, all right. And Sree, how long have you been a birder?
I first got into birding when I was 8. And that was also when I started volunteering with the Audubon at first as well. So that would be 7 years.
Okay. All right. And Padma, how about you?
I just follow her lead. So since she got into birds, I got into birds. So it's about 7 years for me too.
All right, wonderful. Jose, how long have you been a birder?
I've been doing birding for about 7 years now, about 7 years. And my wife, she's been tolerating that, and she's, I think, slowly been getting into it with me for that amount of time. So about 7 years.
Excellent. And what do you think attracts you most to nature and birds, Jose?
Well, first, I think birds are amazing and beautiful. And many times when I see them, they seem prehistoric to me almost, especially like if I see like a roadrunner that comes across in a trail, it just seems so ancient and prehistoric to me. And when I'm looking at them, when I'm immersed in nature with them, it seems like there's no like yesterday or tomorrow. It's just I'm present with them. They draw you in to be present and in the moment, because that's what they're doing. They're in the moment. So it's just for me, a very pleasant experience to be out there observing birds.
Yeah. Silvia, what attracts you most to birds in nature?
All the birds. It's very interesting because I grew up in an environment with nature, but after I met this guy, then I have to follow him wherever he goes, and I start like enjoying most the time going up there with him.
And I have to say, she's a really talented spotter of birds. So many times, I think half the birds that I've seen were thanks to Silvia, because she's really good at helping me point out where they are, and she's really good at identifying the sounds of birds, even though I don't think she'll admit it, but she's really talented in that area.
Yeah, wonderful. Lesley, what attracts you most to nature and birds?
Okay, so I've been attracted to nature because of birds, and I am just absolutely fascinated about anything that has to do with birds. So as we all might know, depending on the taxonomy, there's anywhere between 9,000, 10,000 species of birds, meaning that there's a whole wealth of knowledge to be explored in the natural world, just learning all different kinds of things about one species. And with almost 10,000 different species, there's so much to learn about birds. So in the larger sense, this whole bottomless pit of knowledge that we can explore, it doesn't just apply to birds, but it can really apply to all of nature. So for those of you who are interested in birding and nature, I encourage you to explore the entire natural world out there, because there's still so much for us to learn about, even the most common species that are out there.
Yeah. Krisztina, what attracts you most to nature and birds?
Well, nature in general, gosh, since I was a kid, I was out there, but I think birds, being a photographer and having a good challenge is definitely photographing birds in flight. However, I think I got really, really into the whole thing when I saw the only bird that does this, which is walks on water, which is the grebes. And we'll talk about it later, but it's just the most fascinating thing. I mean, how can a bird do that? You kind of wonder. So you start thinking about it, and then you get into all the other aspects of birds, and it's fascinating. So.
Yeah. Padma, what attracts you most to nature and birds?
My day job, I'm probably the least qualified in this panel because my day job is I'm an engineer and an MBA. So I spend most of my time in front of screens and technology, and I manage teams in multiple countries. So nature is the only time when I'm out there that I actually slow down. Sree sometimes thinks I'm a walking clock because everything is scheduled and I juggle so many balls in the air. So the only time I truly slow down is when I'm in nature. And even before, we used to do a lot of hikes, but then the goal would be like, oh, I have to hit the summit, I have to hit the trail. And then only after I started birding, I started slowing down and realized like there's so many things to see along the way and not just look at the summit or the trail. So that's what has been the most appealing. And then after she was born, a conscious decision that my husband and I made was we cut down on a whole bunch of TV, and she's not much into devices. So just making sure that we spend as a family a lot of time outdoors became very important to us.
Cool. So Sree, did it work?
Yes, it did. It definitely did. I mean, from the time as far back as I can remember, I was just always someone who enjoyed being outside. I have always loved trees for some inexplicable reason. I still do. I think we have a couple of photos.
Yeah.
So although how I became a birder is really when I got a bird feeder for the first time, it was when I saw a barn owl in India when I was, I believe, 8. Yeah. And I mean, that's really when I kind of got into ornithology in the first place, because when I saw it and it saw me, I mean, that barn owl was adorable. I fell in love with birds that day. And like every day after, like not after, during school, I would be researching birds in every book that I could find in the classroom. I would be talking about birds constantly. That was just really it for me.
Beautiful, wonderful. That's a great story. And barn owls are so, yeah, they're really kind of freaky and beautiful and just odd looking, and you can't stop looking at them. and in flight, they're so silent and they're so mysterious. Yeah, they're one of my favorites. I can totally, I'm there with you. I'm going to move on to some of the special places, because the title of this talk is Special Places and Special Birds. And so what I would really like to do is delve into some of those places that have been really important to you throughout your life as a birder or as a nature lover. And so I'm going to start with Lesley. And can you share with me a special place in San Diego County where you like to go to experience birds and nature? And if you have some photos of it or anything you want to share, feel free to.
Okay, I'm going to share my screen. Let's see here.
There you go.
Okay. All right, so I'm going to pick a really popular spot, and the reason why I really like the spot is because it has a really high bird biodiversity and it is very accessible to the public. So as I'm into water birds, my special place that I've selected is the San Diego River. as you can really get a maximum bang for your buck if you're going to go birding over here. According to eBird, there have been 231 species of birds documented at the San Diego River. And this spot is one of the top 10 birding hotspots in San Diego County. Last I checked on eBird. There's several spots that are great for birding. So the #1 dot over here, the Smiley Lagoon in Mudflat area. So if you're gonna go over there, I suggest that you park off of Bacon Street, and then you can just kind of walk up to the paved pathway to bird in that area. This is a really great area to see water birds, and really it has something for everyone, including, you know, if you're an advanced birder, this is a great spot for rarities. You'll get to see pelicans, cormorants, shorebirds, gulls, dabbling ducks, diving ducks, rails, and terns in this area. Make sure that you pay really close attention to what time you go, because the tides matter a lot and will influence which birds that you see. So if you are somebody who is a lazy birder, this is a great spot, because if you you know, go during high tide and you just sit down, as the tides go out, the birds will actually come to you. So that's really fun and interesting, because you know, the area, as it changes with the amount of water in it, there'll be different species that come in. The best time to go, in my opinion, is as the tide is going out. So let's see, the other great location, although it's currently under construction because they're doing a bridge extension, is the #2 area. And you can get to that location off of South Shores Parkway, and you can look it up, and it's called Old SeaWorld Drive. So you can park off of the side of the road and then bird along that area. I think not a lot of people know, but the bird biodiversity is really excellent in that area, and it's comparative to the mudflat area. And then the third area is where the #3 is, and if you park off of Pacific Highway, you can kind of walk in under the freeway to get to this area. This is one of my favorite spots to watch at high tide, because a lot of the ducks, if you go in the winter time, will come in, and then you can see them actively foraging in that area. And also at high tide, you can also see a lot of the shorebirds that will be resting at that point of the tidal cycle. And you can look for them in the higher vegetation area, and they'll all be, you know, there'll be hundreds of them kind of roosting together. I think that's it. I'm pass it back to you, Jen.
Oh, wonderful. And I'm going to ask, let's have Jose. How about you? I'd like to hear about your special place where you like to go birding.
Okay, all right, so let me see. I'm going to try to share my screen then here.
Yes.
Okay. All right. Well, we have lived in the South Bay area for about 20 years now, and specifically near the Otay River Valley. And this area has really grown on us. In fact, we take hikes daily. Every evening, we love to go down the valley and observe. We're just walking and enjoying our environment, and we go down and the trails. On the weekends we like to go a little bit further, but what we every time we go out there, it seems like we see something different or something unique. Of course, we see a lot of just great birds, and we created this place has grown so much on us that we created a website. And well, actually, to tell the truth, we were a little bored during the shutdown period, so we decided, let's make a website. let's keep ourselves busy. And we didn't realize how much of this was we didn't realize how much work it was going to be. But we documented the different birds that have been observed in this area, not just by us, but by groups in the Audubon Society and on eBird. So we have included some pictures of birds, and we also like to put the Spanish name on the bird, and things that we consider interesting facts about the birds in this area. And so we have a whole section dedicated. There's a lot to go over, and I don't want to take up too much time, but our website is otairivervalley.com, and we have a whole list of birds. We believe it's a huge there's a lot diversity of birds. So, but not only that, we also like to look at the different mammals and reptiles. This season we've come across just a lot of rattlesnakes. I think almost on a daily basis we came across, and we felt safe every time. We just stayed on the trails, and we think rattlesnakes are pretty safe because they warn you if you get close to them. But we've seen tarantulas, rattlesnakes, different types of snakes, and I think one of our most memorable experiences were coming across some bobcats, and we saw a mountain lion a couple of times, but I wouldn't let that keep you away from the Otay River Valley, because they're very shy, and they just, as soon as they see anybody, they run away. So that is something that attracts us to the area, the wildlife, but also we included the flora that is part of this Otay River Valley, and there's different types of habitat. Like we have the coastal sage scrub, of course, and some chaparral and grassland, and there's a riparian area. And Andrew was mentioning the Kumeyaay, how they lived around the Mission Bay. So we also included a big part of our website is the Otay River Valley history. And we included the history of the Kumeyaay, their amazing resilience and how resourceful they were. And we included the European settlement and the Mexican period and the American period, and the different things that have happened along the Otay River Valley. And we think it's just an incredible history. Every time we go down there, we learn something new, and we think it's just amazing. And so there's a lot here. So we also cover the different trails and hiking and mountain biking that's part of the Otay River Valley, and some watershed facts, and the different human communities that live around the Otay River Valley. Okay, so that is a quick summary about our special place, the Otay River Valley.
Well, and we can see that it is indeed very special to you, because you've devoted so much energy to this beautiful website.
It's really grown on us.
Yeah. Krisztina, can you share with us a little bit about your special place?
Absolutely. And while I get this share screen going, I just want to say I go to the San Diego River Channel all the time, and being a photographer, it's really neat because you can go any time of the day. But I think I'm going to have to go check out Otay Valley now. Oh my, I haven't been there yet. So what was I thinking? So let's go ahead and share this. And there we go. All right. Okay. So you guys see it okay?
Yes.
Yep. This is me in the morning early, about 2 coyotes behind me waiting for sunrise at Lake Hodges. So obviously, I don't know if you guys know me or not, running under KS Nature Photography, but my favorite spot to go photograph is Lake Hodges to get you in the mood. This is early morning. This is in the winter. I guess we get a little cold, like about 32. Yeah, it's cold. So I'm going to talk about a few things. The reason I put the screen up, just jot down my info and feel free to send me an email and say, hey, Krisztina, where do I go? What do I do? Send me that map I'm about to show you. And that way I can send it to you off, because we won't have too much time to answer. Might not have time questions, but I'll be happy to send it to you. This is Lake Hodges. This was in February, I think, of this year, when we got a lot of rain and it looked really good. This is from the east side. Lake Hodges is super big. Don't ever attempt to go hike around it, because it has a 27-mile shoreline. However, it is a globally important birding area, thanks to the California Netcatcher and the work they've done back in the 1990s. It was designated as a very important birding area, and there are over 200 some species you can see, especially in the winter, resident and migratory. And no, I am not going to go through all 200. This is a map of places I like to go. So if you want to send me a quick email or send me a note or reach out to the San Diego Audubon, I'll be happy to send you this map and explain to you where is a good place to hike, where is a good place if you're, you don't want to hike too much. As I said, 27 miles of shoreline, it's a little too big, so you don't want to do all that. But the reason I love Lake Hodges, as I told you, about 5 years ago, I fell in love with these birds called the grebes. They're Western and Clark's grebes we have. They're about 600 to 700 at Lake Hodges. There are a couple other places in San Diego you can photograph them or view them, but Hodges is where we go with the San Diego Bird Festival. We do workshops on watching these birds do the thing, which is walking on water, and not too many birds do this. Pretty much they're the only ones. And I sometimes do about a 2-hour presentation on the grebes, rushing, we call it. We're not gonna do that right now, but just to give you a very quick fact, if you ever seen the grebes do this, the fastest human, the guy who wins the Olympics, does about 5 to 6 steps a second. These birds do 14. And they rush across the water in about, 7 seconds. It's impressive to watch it. Winter is coming up. This is the time to get ready to go see them. You can go out with me, of course, or you can go on your own. As I said, if you send me a note, I'll tell you where to go and where you can see them, or join us at the Bird Festival. Grebes have an elaborate courtship. There are about 10 steps to their courtship behavior. To me, it's amazing. And this is called the weed ceremony, when they offer each other nesting material. And then, of course, when all the nesting is done, I know, and if not every year they nest, but when they do, the cuteness arrives, and these are the little chicks, usually about April, May. Sometimes they nest all year round, and if 2 wasn't enough for you, then there is 3 or 4. I have had 4 before. But moving on quickly, the little tiny bird that put Lake Hodges on the map is the California Netcatcher. And if you're a photographer, catching them on flight or actually even seeing them, it's pretty impressive. However, as I learned from birders, the way I got into actually learn a lot on bird photography is attending the San Diego Bird Festival. And I went out with a lot of birders, and they could hear birds in the bushes. We didn't see anything, but from the sound, they could say, oh, that is a. So there you go. Sometimes you just have to listen. And another great thing that the San Dieguito River Park does around Lake Hodges is the cactus wren. They build great habitat for them, encouraging them to nest, and they're doing really, really well. But moving on, not gonna list all 200 birds, 200 plus around Hodges, but here are a few quick favorites. Red-winged blackbird. Sometimes the peregrine falcon comes by and says hello, maybe a red-shouldered hawk looking down on you, or the American kestrel just doing a bit of a landing. Acorn woodpeckers are one of my favorites. I know, they're just so much fun to watch. We do have bald eagles in San Diego, a couple places, one of them including Lake Hodges. This is one of them, a male coming in for fishing. And the other raptor, bigger raptor at Lake Hodges is the osprey. Our migratory birds arrive in the winter, and actually they just arrived. A lot of the white pelicans are here. They come for the winter. And yes, we do get the common mergansers flying through. Of course, you have your little cute birds, the hummingbirds, and here's a little Anna's hummingbird. And if you're lucky and you keep your eyes out, you'll get the gray ghost, or the so-called male northern harrier, the male flying by. They are called ghosts for a reason. They don't come around too often, so you have to really, really get lucky or pay attention. And with the lake levels changing, we have a lot of mudflat areas, and in the winter you get to see the black-necked stilts. And just to finish up for Lake Hodges for you, it's a sunrise shot at Lake Hodges. I do a lot of workshops you can read on the website, but this was a sunrise. It's so much fun, and sometimes you get the grebes rushing in the early morning light. It's really neat. And as I said, send me a note if you like. That map is really big. I'm happy to tell you Lake Hodges has an interesting schedule on when can you drive in. Most of the time in the winter, unfortunately, it's a good little hike they have to do, but I'll tell you little shortcuts or certain places you can go. And if you're limited on how far you want to walk, I can tell you certain areas you can go and what you can see. And again, remember the San Diego Bird Festival, that is where we go to view the grebes doing their little dance in February. So hope to see you out there. Thanks, Jen. I'm going to give it back to you, okay?
Okay, thank you. And thanks for all the plugs for the Bird Festival.
Oh, yay.
We are, we're going to be putting the Bird Festival schedule up on the website next week. And yeah, very, very excited to be sharing that with everyone. And then registration opening is November 9th. There will be webinars and workshops, skill building workshops, talks with some of your favorite birding celebrities. We've got keynote speakers that we've lined up, Rosemary Moscow and Ted Floyd, Jody Enck, and Julie Zickafoose.
Yes. Ooh, yeah.
So we have some really fun things lined up. And we're also going to try to do some field trips as well. There'll be very small numbers of people allowed to take them. So if you would like to join us for the field trips, you will need to register probably on that first day, and they'll all go really quickly, I'm sure. But those will be very fun. Okay, we want to get Sree and Padma to talk about the special places that they go. So if you can unmute yourself, and I'm going to put the spotlight on you, and take it away.
Yeah. Well, my favorite place just out in nature in general is San Jacinto, Mount San Jacinto in Idlewild. And then my favorite place to bird probably ever is the El Dorado Preserve, but that is in LA. So my favorite place to bird in San Diego would probably have to be Tecolote Canyon. And the first time that we went down there really was for the bird festival on one of our field trips. And as we were going along, we then saw a great horned owl nest. And I mean, I already mentioned I'm obsessed with owls. So to see this on a bird festival trip, it really made my day. And once it kind of put the spotlight on this place, we kept on coming back for a few weeks after. And I mean, it was amazing to see how the chicks would grow and try to get pictures. I put a couple of posts on my blog for checking in on these guys. And another unforgettable experience that I had at Tecolote Canyon was I did some work with the San Diego River Association on monitoring the levels of polyphagous shothole borer beetles in the area, which is seen to the right. And essentially what we did was we had to put up these sticky paper traps and come back in a few days and check on them to see what accumulated on there. So that's another really cool volunteer experience in the area. Yeah, but even for school, for PE, because we are so close, we are a walking distance from Tecolote Canyon. almost, we basically came down here for hikes. And although, you know, it was the middle of the afternoon and it wasn't the best time for birding, it was still an amazing way to connect with nature. The great horned owls, like I was constantly telling that story on the hikes, and we haven't seen them for a while now, but I mean, it was unforgettable and definitely made Tecolote Canyon one of my favorite places to bird in San Diego.
Beautiful.
And for me, since she mentioned this one, I thought I'll pick another one. This is the one, San Elijo Lagoon. This is quite close to where we live. So in like 10 minutes, we can get here. And this has been one of our most favorite spots to bird. Because there will be days when we've been so busy, she with school and I've been busy at work, and we just need a quick 30-minute walk. Then we'll head out to the nature trail, which is like 0.3 miles, it's flat, but you never know what you can see when you're out there. And then on days when we have a little bit more time, then we do the Annie's Canyon hike, which is one of the most beautiful hikes in San Elijo Lagoon. And again, it changes with every winter. You have all the wintering birds coming in. And so it's always a surprise when you go out to the San Elijo Lagoon. And I should say I started birding here when I could not tell an osprey from a cormorant. I would ask the most stupid questions to the nature center people there, and they would patiently show me all these different birds, and that's how I got started. And
there was a line of 5 birds all on a line in a row. And we were wondering if they were ospreys, and they turned out to be cormorants.
So that's where we started 7 years back. So, and another thing I love about San Elijo Lagoon is they have all these programs for kids. So every Easter they have what is called as an education. So there is an egg hunt, and at every stall the kids will have things to learn about birds and reptiles, and there is also a station where you learn about the Kumeyaay Indians and how they used to grind acorn and how they got color dye. So you can see Sree at various ages in San Elijo Lagoon. So as a parent, I found this as one of the most accessible and easy to go to, and lots of things to do for kids. And this is one of my favorite places in San Diego.
Very nice. Thank you for sharing that. Those are good photos. It's nice to see Sree growing up and being so involved with birds. That's wonderful. Lesley, I know that you had a slide about the terns that you've seen on the San Diego River. Would you like to share those?
Okay, let's see. Back here. Oops. Okay, so I don't know if we want to go into this right now, Jen, about sharing the most meaningful thing that we've witnessed in different places.
Well, we've I think we're going to run out of time.
Oh, okay.
We have about we have about 15 minutes left in the webinar, but I know that you had a picture that had some really nice terns on it.
Okay.
So I thought you might want to share it.
Okay. So basically, in San Diego, we have a very unique assemblage of tern species. So we have 6 different terns. We have the Caspian tern, the royal tern, the elegant tern, and then the gold-billed tern, the forester's tern, and the California least tern. One of the really cool things that I experienced this year was right before they opened the beaches back up to the general public. I birded along the coastline, so I went all the way up to Oceanside, and I checked all the beaches because I was really curious to see what a lot of the birds were doing in the absence of people in those areas. And it was really interesting because what had happened, since there was nobody using the beaches, there were a lot of gulls, and I saw a few brown pelicans that were actually hanging out on the sand area. And then when I checked Mission Bay to see what they were doing in the absence of where the gulls were, because they were hanging out on the beaches where the people weren't anymore, there were a lot of shorebirds that were actually foraging in the areas where the gulls usually hang out. Another really neat thing that I saw was in the San Diego River, which is another reason why I kind of picked this place to share today. So it was right at the end of April and the beginning of May, and I documented 3,000 elegant terns in the San Diego River. So I don't know if everybody's really familiar with the elegant tern, but it's a species that we should be familiar with. They are near threatened, and they only occur on the Pacific coast. And according to researchers in Mexico and in San Diego, the species is really sensitive to climate change, and specifically with El Nino events that are expected to increase in frequency and severity with climate change. So a little known fact is that on some years, this species, chooses San Diego Bay to nest. And in 2016, South San Diego Bay hosted an estimated 85% of the worldwide population of elegant terns, which is really remarkable. So during the lockdown, one of my favorite things about the San Diego River is that I actually saw 3,000 elegant terns hanging out in the San Diego River. So.
Wow, that is really cool. Does anyone else have any short stories that they'd like to share of cool, amazing birds that they have seen? Maybe not in those kind of numbers, or just a special moment with birds that you've had. Jose?
When Sree mentioned her love and fascination with owls, that's I think Silvia is also really fascinated with that. And one thing lately that we've been seeing, I think almost on a daily basis, we like to go down. We mentioned earlier we like to go down hiking the valley, and at dusk we have seen both the barn owl and the great horned owl regularly there. So in the Old Terror Valley, Sree, if you ever want to come down in the dusk, we'd love to point out areas where you can see them, and they're spectacular. We think they're just beautiful and amazing.
Yeah, wonderful. Great. And we're going to, for the Bird Festival, there are going to be a couple of owling trips as a part of what we're doing. There'll be an owling webinar, which will be free for anybody to attend. And then the field trips, there'll be one every night. So not a lot of people allowed to go, but there will be some lucky people who will be able to go based on, just the restrictions that we have for COVID right now. Okay, so we've got about 10 minutes left, just a little bit more than that. And want to make sure that I cover any questions that are in the Q&A room. It looks like we only had one, and it was answered live. So if you have lingering questions, go ahead and put them into the Q&A now, and I will go on to the next question while those questions are coming in. Here's a quick poll for all of the panelists. Think about your answer in 25 words or less. Name one thing that is happening now that will help to preserve your location for future generations. Krisztina.
Oh my. future generation, the conservation that's happening, the San Diego River Park, taking up, obviously all the trails are run by them, and doing conservation on with the cactus wrens and the California neckcatchers. And I'm also working on a grebe conservation. And for future generations is education. Get the little ones out there, the young ones, and show them how to care and take care of nature and the world around us.
Yeah, wonderful. Lesley.
All right, so I'm going to do a quick plug. So for those of you who don't know who I am, I'm an ornithologist, and I also am very involved in San Diego Audubon. I'm involved in the San Diego Audubon Conservation Committee, and I also sit on the board. I'm going to do a quick plug for the Conservation Committee. So the Conservation Committee is currently working on a lot of advocacy issues in the San Diego area, including the San Diego River. And like Andrew presented, Mission Bay. So if any of you guys are interested in, doing more than just birding because you care about the birds and you care about conservation, I want to make a quick plug. If you're interested, the Conservation Committee is always looking for people who are willing to speak up on behalf of the birds. There's a lot of work that has to be done, with trying to preserve habitats, we're really worried about climate change. So, we always invite more people who are interested in advocacy to join the Conservation Committee. And we meet every fourth Tuesday of the month. I will put my email address in there, and then you can also email Andrew if you're interested. Because nobody else knows the birds better than birders do. So, in these times where we're seeing a lot of declines of different species pretty much everywhere, we need to speak up for the birds, and we need to help them because they can't speak for themselves. So please join us at the Conservation Committee and help us out with some advocacy. Thank you.
Thank you. Sree and Padma, what's going on in your special places to keep them preserved?
Although this isn't specifically Tecolote Canyon, right now, this is the second year that the advocacy program is happening for the San Diego Audubon. And this time, both of us are advocating for golden eagles, specifically the Bandy Canyon pair in the Ramona grasslands. And right now we are working with Parks and Rec to see how to preserve the life of these birds, not just now, but for the long future.
Very good, very good. And Jose and Silvia, what's going on to help keep Otay Valley going strong?
Well, when Sree was telling about a story that really resonated, because I think one of the reasons I got into birds was I'm a sixth grade teacher, and I was up at sixth grade camp, and I remember going on hikes and trails with the kids, and we would get excited when we'd see a bird, and we'd say, look at that bird, look at that beautiful bird. And there was a fellow teacher who was a birder, and she would say, yeah, look at that Steller's jay is really cool, or that acorn woodpecker, or that northern flicker is really nice. And that became, her students, I realized, it became more, the observing of nature and looking at the birds became much more personal when you were able to name them. And I realized then that that's a thing, that birding was a thing. So I think to answer the question is, getting kids out in nature, and getting them immersed in the beauty of nature wherever it is, whether it's the Otay River Valley or Lake Hodges or Tecolote Canyon. Getting the kids out there, I think, is the key, because we need, if you're out there, you're going to naturally get immersed and naturally care about what's out there, because we have, here in San Diego, we just have beautiful surroundings, and we are just blessed to have so much beauty around us. So I think the answer is getting kids out there. And I see the Audubon Society doing that, and I see San Diego County Parks and Rec, when the shutdown's not in place, I saw them getting programs out there, getting kids out there. So I think that's the main thing.
All right, thanks, Jose. It looks like we do have one question in the question bank now. This comes from Cindy, and she's asking, is San Diego Audubon doing anything to help educate the fishing community about not leaving their excess line and gear around in the water or in the habitat? Let's see, Lesley, do you know if the Conservation Committee is working on that?
If Andrew is still around, I'm going to actually bump this question to him.
Okay. All right, Andrew, are you still there?
Hello, am I still around?
Yes.
Can you hear me, Jen? Okay.
So San Diego, is San Diego Audubon doing anything to help educate the fishing community about not leaving their excess line and gear around in the water or in the habitat?
Yeah, awesome question. And I don't have a great answer. I mean, no, not directly, unfortunately. That's something that we should do. It's important. And if you are really jazzed about it, you can work with our Conservation Committee, as Lesley mentioned, to dive in deeper on it. Megan Flaherty, who's our Restoration Program Manager, and she leads the work, but I help a little bit on a bunch of projects that we have that involve the fisheries management and fisheries communities a little bit. We don't do a whole lot with fishers, people who fish, and the fishing industry, but we do get involved in Pacific marine fisheries management because it's a huge component of what a lot of these birds that everybody's been mentioning eat, a lot of the shorebirds and seabirds that we have, especially the least tern, and they rely on a bunch of small fish at the right time of year, and so their populations are affected by what fish are available. But nothing directly with fishing line and with recreational fishers as well as commercial fishers. So we should focus on that some more in the future.
Right. And Krisztina said that she wanted to chime in on that.
I'm going to share my screen very quickly. I'll be super fast, but I want to show you this. So, do you see the photo?
Yes.
Yeah. So I just wanted to chime in because while maybe if you see that's a nesting grebe, western grebe with the fishing line hanging off his front area, and he's just tucking in the eggs, and I'm not sure what would happen when the eggs are hatched, but one of the things you can do while we all, obviously every organization, we're trying everybody to do something, but I just want to encourage you, whenever I'm out at Lake Hodges or any place, I carry a little trash bag, and these days obviously I carry gloves and all that good stuff, but I carry a trash bag and I pick up everything I can to just, it takes 5 to 10 minutes, just kind of go around and pick up things. So hopefully these little birdies don't get fishing line around them. I photographed this. It made me a tidbit sad. I only noticed it when I got home and I processed the photo. So yeah, whatever you guys can do out there, I think every little bit helps, and encourage all your friends. Even if you only pick up 2 little things whenever you're out there, it's great. So thank you. That was it.
That's a great suggestion.
Thank
And there was a question, let's see, there was one about photographing quail, but it went away.
I replied to it saying, Lake Hodges. Hello, quail and roadrunner, but also I've seen pretty much any trail inland, especially. Quails, to me, quails are very shy. So I suggest to Monica, better time of the day, birds are mostly active in the morning. But for quail, roadrunners are odd. They just show up in front of you and they look cute. But quails learn their sound. And I've learned to just listen to them in the bushes because they have a little chit chat going on, you know, and then the best way to photograph them is you have to learn their sound and listen for them and then wait and be super patient.
That's very good advice.
I
live up in Idlewild and I have mountain quail.
Mountain quail, yep.
And they live right in the rocks right outside my place. And I learned their sounds because for a long time I never saw one. But then later on in the season, they started showing up every single day, and I was seeing them constantly.
Yep.
Really
Oh my God.
satisfied with myself.
I have to embarrass a teenager, so otherwise I'm not a good mom. And I have to say that she makes an excellent quail call.
Yes? No, she muted herself. I don't
Oh no, do it, do it. I want to hear it.
Yeah.
Come on.
I'm laughing.
All right. Well, actually, I'm going to move on because we're very close to the end here. It's 7 o'clock. And so I want to thank everybody for coming. We've had a really good time with you tonight. And I hope that you've learned about some beautiful places where you can go birding in San Diego. And I hope that you check them out. And I hope that you have special experiences while you're there. Our next meeting is going to be the 3rd Wednesday in November. And I didn't write it down, so I don't remember what day that is. Bad me. It's the 18th of November at 6 o'clock p.m. And the topic is going to be about the Vox's Swift. It's called Vox's Happening, 15 million and counting. And it's about Audubon's Vox's Happening project, which began in 2007. And it's been a successful effort to save school chimneys so that these swifts have a place to go. I hope that you're able to join us. You can sign up by going to our website calendar, and there's an RSVP button on there. You just click that, put in your information, and then shortly before, a couple days before the program, we will send you the Zoom link so that you can join us and come and see that program. I want to thank you all again for coming, and I wish you a very safe and healthy time. You be well. And we will see you next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, everybody.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you.
Bye.